All right, what's up, guys? So today we're talking with Michael over at Danscomp, and he runs their social media and stuff like that. He's a super cool guy, and we're just answering some of your questions. He asked specific questions on their page, and we just got done filming that. So if you want to check out, it's like a long video, go to Danscomp's YouTube channel, check that out. Otherwise, you guys really disappointed me with the questions. Like, there's not very many good ones, so we're gonna go through what I got, and yeah, sometime we'll have Michael on one of the lives. I think it'd be a lot of fun because the lives get a lot more questions. And bro, we had some really good conversations on your channel. So who are you? What do you do? What's Danscomp?
Yeah, good questions. So my name's Michael Barrow. I've been with Dans for about 10 years. I want to say started in 2009 or something, 2008, somewhere around there. Worked for them for many years. Started out in customer service, doing phone. You mentioned on our video, the Dan's video, that you would call in and ask questions. I'm wondering now if
we probably talked.
But I really enjoyed people called in and asked questions, like parts of the questions. But I did that for a couple of years, and then I was promoted to like marketing and merchandising. So I did a lot of the reordering for brands, a lot of the descriptions that you would read on catalogs and on the website. I wrote those along with all the weights and specs and all that stuff. I did that for many years until I want to say 2017, I think, is when I ended up leaving Dan's for a few years. And then during that point, they ended up, unfortunately, the old owners, for whatever reason, they had financial troubles. And, it's no secret. We've got stuff on Dan's about it. But
that's when they went through a rough patch.
Yeah, there was
So you missed out on all that.
I did. I did. I mean, fortunately for me, but it sucked for everyone involved. And I know all those guys involved. So,
yeah,
I don't know all the bits and pieces of what actually happened, but long story short, they went through some financial issues and ended up being purchased by A-Main, who has roots in BMX as well. So they were actually involved in BMX racing, which is how they got to be involved with Danscomp. And they ended up purchasing them in 2019, and then late 2019, they ended up relaunching the Danscomp brand. So at the same time, they brought back a lot of us OG guys. So there's several guys that, I've told people before that when it comes to Dan's, it's very much the same company. Like the day-to-day, you're going to be talking to, or stuff is going to be involved with a lot of the OG guys from Dan's. Mm-hmm. But it's got a much better and bigger backing when it comes to that.
Yeah.
So it's been great with the backing of A-Main, and they're not new to bikes at all. So they own a couple other bike retailers. So it's been good. I'm glad they're completely relaunched.
Things seem good.
So.
Yeah, so you talked about writing the descriptions in the catalog, right? And then you got rid of the catalog, but I heard you got the catalogs back.
Yes, I've got one right
there, huh? There's Trey. That's our boy Trey.
Hey, Trey.
How do you get one of those catalogs though? Because I loved having those, and I'd take them to school, and my friends and I would look through everything, and it's cool to have.
Take your pen and you circle all the parts you wanted to build your dream bike. I was a customer. Dan's was my local bike shop when it came to, a lot of the rumors over the years was like Dan's is not a bike shop. For whatever reason, people thought that. Dan's was my local bike shop. Mm-hmm. So I would actually ride with a lot of the guys that worked there. And over the years, just got to know them better. And when I became 18, I applied there, and kind of how it all started. But when it comes to the catalog, it used to be, we drop a catalog and you'd see a spike in sales. Well, the internet age slowly took over as it does. And we quit doing them just because it was ungodly expensive to do a catalog that big. and nobody actually ordered out of the catalog. So we did have to end up stopping that. But I worked on the catalogs. A lot of the guys that still work at Dan's, they all worked on the catalogs. So it's super like near and dear to our heart. Yeah. So we really wanted to try to relaunch something. And so right now what we're doing is if you order anything $20 or more, as long as it fits in the package, you'll get one. So
that's cool. Yeah.
And if you look, sorry,
that's not even that's not even a hard thing to do, right? That's like a tire or some grips and a shirt. You know, it's not hard to hit that $20 threshold and get a catalog. No, those are important, guys. I have a whole stack in my garage from way back. So start collecting them now.
And that's only the start of it, because, this was just something it's crazy, honestly, to relaunch a catalog in the middle of a still ongoing pandemic when it comes to parts availability. I can't tell you how many times we had to change the parts in the catalog because of the whole pandemic issues. But yeah, it's we wanted to get something out, and this is only the start, because I think in the future catalogs we're going to have actual like articles in it as well. So it'll almost be
like a newsletter almost.
Yeah, it's going to be kind of a hybrid catalog and magazine. So we'll have.
That's smart.
Yeah, but we also want to like educate the consumer on certain products. So we'll have articles based on like some of the YouTube videos that we have based on within the catalog.
You could even type in like a Q&A section, right? And answer questions that people have
and
stuff like that.
That's actually a good idea. Yeah. I like that. But the catalog is, if you liked the old catalog, it's very much the same. I feel like it's a completely, like it's a full evolution of it, because it's printed on really nice paper. I know that kind of sounds a little kind of lame.
Open it up. Show us a sneak peek.
Well, when you hold the old catalog, they tell, but it's on a super matte, paper finish. But when you hold the old catalog, like that's legit just how we printed the old one. The layouts.
Yeah.
Exactly the same.
That's cool.
We had to tweak a few things, but it's very much an evolution of it. So I'm really happy with it on how it came out. We actually have an article right there that I wrote up, which is I'll send that to you, a screenshot of it.
Yeah.
I'll send you, I don't know why. Let me send you a catalog. But it talks about like Danscomp relaunching in there. So
okay. Yeah, because that comes up a lot, and we talked about it on your video, is like what happened during that time and what's happening now. It's funny how we got in touch, because on one of the podcast episodes, Barrick had a really good experience buying from them. And I talked about how I was salty that I reached out to try and work together, right? The guy said no, and I said, well, screw Danscomp. And so then Michael reached out. I was like, hey, and so now we're best friends, basically.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, that's really cool. And so check that out to learn more about it. Let's talk about some of these disappointing questions I got. This one's not too bad. Scooby Tech says, hey, Doug, or is it Doug or Bob? It's whatever. I just went to the skate park my first time this week. The ramps look so much easier in videos. It was so much more scary being on actually the half pipe. My question is, what are your thoughts on freestyle BMX? Other than that, that's it. Thanks for getting me into BMX. It's a super fun sport. All right, man. I'm glad you're into BMX. Glad I was able to help. Yeah. Well, because you guys don't necessarily just do freestyle, especially A-Main. A-Main's in the whole bike world, but Dan's does some racing too, right?
Yeah.
So what do you think?
Guy for racing. It's not my forte with racing. I know a bit about it, just being around it so much. But yeah, freestyle.
It's a really tough question.
I mean, I think I got into freestyle because I was into team sports for a long time. I played baseball for a long time, and I actually got into skateboarding. And then I want to say I saw an X Games X Games on TV.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how I got interested in BMX, because my skateboard broke, but I still had a bike.
Okay.
of getting like an actual BMX bike. And I was like, man, this is pretty fun. So that's how I got into it.
That's cool. Yeah, for me, I think a big thing of people who actually stick to the sport for whatever reason, we have a hell of a time fitting in. So like, I don't know, I'm really awkward. You guys can't tell, but I'm super awkward.
I'm super awkward.
Yeah. So that's something we all share. I'm sure you're awkward too. And so BMX is nice because you can just go out, do whatever you want. You go to the skate park, you go ride your street spot, your trails, and like you can be alone, like in your head. For a lot of people, like, I don't know, high school sucks, right? So you want to be able to just like release that stress and whatever it may be. Whereas team sports, I hated the fact that I could give 130% in my team sports, but you got this guy and this guy who don't really give a shit, and they're like not trying, right? And it affects the whole team. So if BMX, you give yourself 110%, that's exactly what you get out of it. And that's a really cool thing. But it's not going to make you rich, and you're going to have a really hard time. So if you want to be rich, like focus on, I don't know, track or something like that. I don't know. There's not many sports, I guess. Football, baseball, all that. But if you want, like, you'll meet countless good friends across all over if you travel, and it's just a good thing to do if you're a loner.
Yeah, I feel like that's how I was, because I did team sports, particularly baseball, for a long time, and I just got tired of going every weekend. There was a practice in the middle of the week. It was practice, and it's like, I don't want to do anything. Like, I want my own thing. So finished out the season or whatever, and then from there I picked up a skateboard and then a bike, and was kind of hooked on bikes for whatever reason.
Yeah,
I think a lot of it was Dennis McCoy. I for some reason I was like totally drawn to his style of riding, but I want to say it was DMC. Watching him on X Games was like, oh, this shit is rad.
Yeah. Well, so that kind of pivots into part of his question, is that riding the ramps looks so much easier on video.
Oh, yeah.
You probably watched X Games and you got on the bike and you sat there scratching your head. Like, how do they do that? It's like an art form, right? Making it look good. It's like our craft is doing that. But how'd you learn? How'd you get used to it?
How did I get used to
like riding the ramps?
Oh, geez. Well, we didn't even have a skate park and we still have a really shitty skate park, which is funny because it's one of those prefab parks, like our local park, prefab park, that has been there since early 2000s, which is when I first started riding. And it's still there. It's changed a lot, but it's still there. Still the same original ramps. Now I take my kids to it, which is nuts to think about. But man, it is falling apart. We're supposed to be getting a new skate park here pretty soon. I think they're breaking ground within this year. So fingers crossed on that. But yeah. So for the first many years of me riding, it was all street, nothing but street. And I still enjoy street the most of anything. But I want to say my first legit skate park that I ever went to was Louisville. Or Louisville, if you're not from around here. Yeah. But
without the accent.
Skate park in Kentucky, huge concrete park, and still to this day, it's amazing. It's kind of gone downhill, the area. A lot of graffiti and not so great people around there, but the park in general, that was the first legit park. And I remember looking at that thing because they still do have the half pipe there in general, and I was like, holy shit, this is nuts. Like, tell me, do you do this? Do you go to a new skate park? So like before I go to a new skate park, I'm going to check out and see what it looks like.
You do a pro lock.
No, I don't do the pro lock. I'm not that good. I don't do the pro. But no, I'll check it out on like Google Images or like the most skate parks have some sort of website that you can view images of it or whatever, Google Images or whatever. And like, I'll look at it and be like, oh man, I can't wait. When we go there, I'm going to do this on that. I'm going to do this. Then you get there and it's like, nope.
Yeah. Impossible. Yeah, dude, I do the same thing.
Pictures and videos do not do some of this stuff justice.
Yeah.
So
that's true. That's a good point. Dude, funny story. Louisville. way back, like, so I'm lived with my grandparents in high school, and every year they'd go to like all the way to the East Coast just to visit family. So I went with them. We brought my bike and we stopped at like almost every skate park. So I got to ride Joplin, St. Louis, up around there.
Yeah.
And we went to Louisville, and that was the first time ever seeing that big wooden half pipe, right?
Yeah.
And I was like, this is crazy. I never dropped in, but going to that park, it's like, that park is insane. But I was pretty sure I was going to get stabbed or something. I was just a kid too. It's like, it's really ghetto, but it's a nice park.
Yeah, it's since sadly gone downhill, but yeah, I was there. Man, they tells you how long I've been riding, because I think I started riding at age 13 or 14 maybe, and I should be a lot better than I really am for how long I've been riding. But it was like brand new. I think it only been open for a few months when I went, and it was packed. And I was intimidated at first. And I think for a lot of new riders, it is intimidating because you see all these other riders and that are way better than you. But it's like, man, we've traveled all this way. I don't know, if this is the only time I'm going to ride the park. Luckily it wasn't. I rode it many times, but it's like the first time there, it's like, screw it. I'm just going to go ahead and drop in and just see what I can do. And after a few runs, you kind of get used to it, get used to the transitions. And at that point, I hadn't really ridden a ton of skate parks, but besides prefab parks, so it was way different. But you do get, after riding it for a little while, you do get used to it. You get used to the transitions. That's the hardest part for me, is getting used to the transitions. Every park has a certain curvature to it. The radius of the ramp is different. So that's probably the hardest part for me. Once I get that down, then I can start flowing around a little better. But
so practice. Just drop in. Don't be scared. Nobody's watching you anyway. You're good.
Don't worry about whatever other people are doing. Just go for it.
James Sawyers says, is Performance Bike and Danscomp owned by the same company?
Yes. So A-Main owns Performance Bike and Nash Bar. So we have a ton of bike riders on BMX riders, and then also mountain bikers. One of the guys, Mike, another Mike, that's part of Dan's, he's in customer service too. So if you guys talk to him, that dude is rad. Like on a BMX bike and a mountain bike, he's one of those guys that can switch back and forth. Same thing with Austin Zitmeyer. He's another OG Dan's guy. He's really good at a BMX bike, but he switched over to mountain recently, and he is insanely good. So like there's a ton of just A-Main in general is filled with bike riders, regardless. But they do have special. So if you call in with a specific BMX question, they're going to get you with a BMX rider. But yeah, A-Main does own Danscomp, Nash Bar, and Performance Bike. And it's a family-owned business. Dan's has never been corporate except for maybe a few years in the very, very early 2000s. Since then, it's always been family-owned. That's always kind of been a rumor, is Dan's is a corporate company.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, still family. But with the A-Main backing, a lot of the roots are in bikes, and there's a lot of BMX riders who ride mountain bike or vice versa. Yeah. And so that's really cool. You could call with a mountain bike question and get a mountain bike rider too, then I assume.
Yeah. They've got different phone numbers. So if you
got you.
This bike, they're going to connect you with somebody.
Oh yeah. You don't want to call Danscomp and ask for Performance Bike.
Yeah. I mean, they'll get you, they'll transfer you over there if they need. But if it's a question like you want to track your order or something, or you've got a question about whatever that anybody can answer, they're going to answer it for you. Yeah. But if it's if you call Dan's for a BMX specific question, they're going to get you with a BMX rider.
Gotcha. Now 6 subscribers. That's an interesting username. He says, how expensive should a custom BMX be? And this is cool because you did a video about you essentially built a custom, almost as cheap as you could, right? To test out everything. And how much was it? And was that the cheapest option?
It I can't remember the exact total. It's in the video.
Okay.
But it was like $960 something.
So under 1,000.
Yeah, that was the goal, was to get it right under 1,000 or to see where we could get it at. I didn't want to get, because we could have gone cheaper than that.
Okay.
I did get like 48 spline cranks.
Yeah.
8 spline. I mean, 8 spline is fine for, if you're an entry level. Well, like, okay,
Yeah.
but this is something that we wanted a lot of people to ride. So I wanted to get something that was going to handle. So some parts we did, go a little bit more expensive. Other parts like the seat, we got a seat post combo.
Yeah.
Like,
that doesn't really matter. You don't need a $50 pivotal combo.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I was like right at 960 something.
But you forgot pedals, if I remember.
Yeah, I did. I think the grand total after that, because I ended up getting some alienation.
Okay.
Some alienation pedals for it. The new ones that came out. I can't remember the exact of them right now. I feel bad now.
No,
but
it's okay. You got blindsided.
It was still right under 1,000.
Okay. Like, yeah, and that's about right. Like, you almost don't want to spend build a custom with the absolute cheapest parts to get like say $600 or $700 when you could buy a complete that would be better quality for about the same price.
Oh yeah,
so it's smart to balance the quality with so you can get a pretty good custom for under 1,000.
Yes,
okay.
You can get. It's not going to be. You're going to have to make some compromises somewhere, but you can still build. Like, we've had many people ride that bike. We brought it to a USA BMX Freestyle event. A couple people rode it there, and when I told them that it was under 1,000, they were kind of shocked because it does. It feels really nice. Like,
yeah,
I didn't put pegs on it or anything. I didn't need to put pegs on it, but I did splurge and put brakes on it because I don't ride brakes, but I do I used to ride brakes. I wanted to have a brake bike.
Yeah, so it worked out good.
So that I could mess around on it too,
Yeah.
So like you could mix like instead of brakes, you could do pegs or whatever.
Do pegs, yeah.
Yeah.
And so I remember way back, I can't remember the shop, but if you ordered a completely custom bike, so if you ordered everything for a custom, you'd get a discount. You guys don't do that, right?
No, I think we used to do that.
It might have been you that used to, but you do have the discount codes that vary throughout the year.
Yeah.
Okay.
The assembly department is something that they're going to bring back. That was the whole thing with the transition too, is like custom wheels, custom builds. We really didn't do a whole lot of custom bike builds. Like we would do them, but not a whole lot of people. If you were building a custom bike, you probably already knew what you were doing.
Yeah.
But some guys just like to do it and have us do it, which was fine. So we would do that. And I'm sure that's probably something that we'll end up getting into in the future again. Custom wheels, I know, is on the list of bringing that department back so we can do that. But yeah.
Yeah. When I ordered mine, I think, so I got like tie spokes on the wheels, tie spindle for the profile cranks. I went all out because I won like $2,400 at the casino. I was like, this is dope. So I just bought everything. But I think I called it in to place the wheel order because you guys have to make sure the spokes are the right size. And I said, hey man, do you guys have any coupons? And he's like, yeah, I think it was 15% or something that they had going on. I don't know if they're supposed to tell you over the phone, but he did. He hooked me up with that on the bike and saved me a lot of money. So that was a solid option.
Cool. Well, I'll put this. Can you see that? There's some.
Oh, look at that. There's a 15% off right now until the end of September. DanCat 15. And then, or you could save 20 on orders over 100 or more.
Yeah.
All right, dude. That's solid. Good job. Look, we got you guys all hooked up now. Okay, Ian Bronk. Ian's a really, really cool guy. I see him. He's answering other people's questions in here. I love when you guys help each other out like that. That's sick. But Ian says, I want to know how teeth can affect the ride and more in-depth of rear wheels. What causes one double wall rim to cost more over the other? Compare Danscomp. They want me to buy a $300 wheel. Does that make any sense?
It depends on probably what his specifications were.
Yeah, that's a broad question.
If you just called and said, what's like the best wheel, we're going to give you the best wheel.
Yeah.
Going back to that custom bike that we built, I've got some cinema wheels on that one.
Okay.
And they're really solid for the money. I want to say, here, I can just pull it up right now, my computer right here. But for the price on that, man, they're hard to beat.
Yeah.
It's the Cinema ZX wheel. They've got the free coaster and the cassette version. So if you're wanting just like a budget-minded wheel set that's still going to be solid, like the Cinema ZX is what I would recommend. Then they've got other stuff like the VX3, which is has the 888 rim on it. So it really depended on what criteria you're trying to meet there. Because obviously the more money you spend, the higher quality wheel that you're going to get. So I would need to know more about that question.
Yeah. So I think, Ian, you gotta, if you ask what's the best wheel, so we talked about this earlier, is that essentially we want to help, like both of us collectively want to help people find the right bike. Like we don't want to push you into $1,000 bike if you don't need $1,000 bike. Same with wheels. You know, if you want the best wheels, that's probably what they're going to tell you is the best wheels, which aren't necessarily the cheapest. But if you want the best bang for your buck, then that'd be a different conversation to have, or even the cheapest. And then let's see, I was going to say, and like a lot of the difference, right, is like a single wall, double wall, and then pinned or welded, right? Is that pretty much the only two? I mean, some do flash welding, which is a little more quality, but that's pretty much it, right? That's kind of how the prices go up.
Yeah, we pretty much break it down as pinned and welded, though. There's different techniques about it, but yeah. Double wall, of course, is going to be, thank God we got rid of triple wall rims. Like, she was super heavy. Triple 48 hole wheels. But double wall rims these days are, if you get a welded one, like, it's going to be solid. That's what all the pros are riding is going to be double wall rims. As long as you get one that's higher end and welded, as you mentioned, the pinned double wall rims, like they're going to be fine for most people. But it really depends on what you're going to do. Because, and I'm sure you probably noticed this, a lot of the newer guys are much harder on stuff than guys that have been riding for a lot longer because they're smoother. The guys that have been doing it a lot longer, they're got more experience, they're smoother, they're actually less harsh on parts than like a newbie. It's
interesting, huh? You go through like a curve of, I was going to say, I ride the Sun Rhino Light rims. Do you remember those?
Yeah. You still ride those?
Yeah. So I found some on Amazon on my last build and I got them just because I've had them. Like they all still last, and I think they're pinned. They're double wall pinned, but they're super light.
I had them on my
cheap. They're like $40 versus hazard lights are like 80 or something, and they last. But like I was gonna say, not to toot my own horn, but I'm pretty smooth, and I don't really. I break spokes sometimes, and if I ride it with 7 broken spokes, then it's not very good on the wheel. But usually I don't mess it up too much. But if I'm riding a lot of street and doing some hefty stuff like Trey is in that cover, then I probably wouldn't get so far with the pinned double walls.
Yeah, I won't mention the name of the brand, but they had come out with their very first rim many years ago, and I kind of tested it, and it kind of taught me how to true wheels because I didn't know how to true wheels at all before that, and then I had to force myself to learn how to do it because they're kind of junk. But if you get they completely redesigned it now and it's a completely different rim. So it's much better now. But if you get a welded rim or even the pin rim these days, it's going to be pretty solid. But if you're a more experienced rider, go ahead and get a welded rim. You're going to pay a little bit more for it, but it is going to be better. It's going to last you a lot longer. I have got we're not on the Danscomp YouTube, so I can do my recommendations. But No, I don't care. The alienation rims, I was going to bring it up here, but you guys can't see it. I have the Felon rims, and I think they have even a newer version of it. But I've had really good luck with alienation rims. Alienation stuff in general, but their rims, man, I've beat the shit out of those things.
Yeah.
Like, kind of a testament to it. I'm sure the wheels around here somewhere, but I legit ripped a chunk off the sidewall of the rim. Like, it's peeled back.
Yeah.
Like somebody can opener to it and peeled it back. And it's still straight.
That's
like,
crazy.
I took it to the wheel builders and they're like, what? Like, still, like, if I rode brakes, it would have been a bad deal.
Yeah. Yeah, we talked about each brand kind of specializing in their own area, right? Like on your video, and I think Sunday specializes in, different things, and everyone else does. But Alienation's kind of got the grass. I think Alienation and Odyssey on really good quality wheels.
Yeah.
Light too.
I like Cinema too. That's another wheel.
True.
I've actually tried not just like their complete wheels on the review bike, but I've tried some of their aftermarket rims just on custom wheel builds for myself. I really liked them, didn't have any issues with it. But yeah, I keep going back to alienation rims on my personal bike just because of that. Most of it because of that reason, just seeing that rim peeled back, which was totally my fault.
Stay straight. Yeah.
Like, and it was still straight. It wasn't anything where the rim was faulty at all. I beat the shit out of it, and it's great. So I still go back to alienation rims, but yeah, Odyssey, Cinema, you can't go wrong with any of those either.
Yeah. Juanito says, it's so crazy that my new bike is getting here tomorrow. Not a question, but I'm sure we're both really stoked for you. He got a Fit street bike. All right. This guy asked about bunny hops. We're not going to talk about bunny hops. Okay, here's a really good one. We kind of talked about it onto yours about the not riding. You have a video about going through winter, right? You talked about that. Okay, so he says, Vaughn says, how can you ease back into riding physically and mentally after an injury? I sprained my ankle 3 weeks ago and want to get back to my former level of riding.
Okay,
what do you
this
think?
is a perfect question because I just came off of breaking my ankle.
I just sprained mine too.
So yeah, I'd say this was a bad deal. So as I mentioned earlier, I used to work at Dan's, left for a little bit, and then came back. So when I came back, within the first 2 weeks of me coming back to Dan's, I broke my ankle. I broke my heel almost completely in half. Like,
wow.
Talk about like bad, just like mentally that just sucked because I was like super stoked to be back with Dan's again, doing something that I loved again. And then now I've got a broken ankle, can't ride, can't even walk. I had to have surgery on my birthday to put screws in. So
Jesus.
I got really lucky though, because it wasn't on my actual joint. Like that would have taken a little bit longer to heal, but they said my heel was pretty much broken in half. So I was actually back riding from surgery to back riding within less than 3 months.
Okay.
Like it was nuts. Like I didn't think that it was going to be that quick because originally they told me maybe 6 months.
Wow.
But when the doctor said no restrictions, I was actually on my way to California to visit A-Main and Dan's. So I'm like, well, hell, I'm going to bring my bike now.
Yeah.
And that is probably what I did was during that time of the injury. It depends on your mental state. A lot of people, they still want to be involved in BMX. So I did some filming for some, local friends around here. And that was kind of like my escape.
Mm-hmm.
I have to just kind of sit there and move the camera. I couldn't walk or anything.
Yeah.
And just being in the position that I'm in, I was already forced into it anyway. So a lot of guys, they still want to be involved in it some way with filming. I think filming really helps a lot of guys. You'll see a lot of filmers in general. A lot of those guys either had injuries or they're just riders themselves. They may not be like pro rider, but they're riders themselves, and that's their involvement in it is more in the filming aspect of it, taking photos, stuff like that. And then other guys, they completely block out BMX for that time frame because them thinking of BMX bums them out. So they do everything they can to avoid BMX during that time frame. So it's completely on what your mental state is when it comes to that. I know, like with ankles, like it does suck, but if you've gone to the doctor, like whatever he says, I'm one of those guys. I don't like to go to the doctor, but like this time I kind of had to at this point. But I really followed his advice and with physical therapy and stuff like that. And I really do feel that helped tremendously in getting me back to back on the bike as quickly as I did. So it depends on the injury and what your mental state is. But yeah, I feel like that's my advice when it comes to dealing with injuries.
Yeah. So essentially stay, like, if you can, stay with the sport, even though you can't ride, film, hang out, there's even BMX video games like Matt Hoffman is an amazing game still. The pumped BMX, there's all kinds of street pipe or something like that.
Yeah.
I don't know. There's a lot. You could still kind of stay in the sport without being in the sport. And for a lot of people that helps, but getting back into it, I don't know, that it's hard because you know what you're capable of, but then you're not really able to get there. And so, dude, I'd say be patient with it. Start small, right? Work your way back up to it because you don't want to hurt yourself again.
Yeah.
And after 3 months of not riding for you, I'm sure when you got back on the bike, it felt different, right? Like your muscle memory's still there, but it wasn't the same.
Oh yeah. That's you like not using your leg for nearly 3 months.
Yeah.
It's nuts how much muscle mass you lose by not using a limb. Like
you got one leg this small and then a normal size leg.
It's nuts. Like but really the physical therapy really helped with that. And like, as you said, the muscle memory really helped. If you can ride, there's a video that we posted on the Dan's YouTube channel of a stolen cruiser. Cause I actually wasn't big into cruisers at all, but I bought a cruiser as physical therapy because I didn't want to get a road bike. I wanted still a BMX bike, So I actually bought a cruiser and rode that as part of my physical therapy because riding bikes actually helps with ankle injuries as long as it's not going to interfere with the healing process of it.
Yeah.
But riding bikes just in general really helps with rehabilitating those muscles. So that helped me, I feel like, a ton. And then when I was actually able to get back on a BMX bike and start doing impacts on it from jumping and whatnot, it is going to be sore for a little while, and you just kind of have to fight through it. Like, don't overdo it because you could risk injuring yourself again. Yeah. But get back into it where just like my first week was just me floating around the park and my ankle would still swell up a ton just doing that, but not pushing myself doing like bigger stuff, but just floating around the park and airing out of quarters and stuff like that. Your basic stuff.
Yeah.
That helps build that muscle back accordingly.
Yeah.
And you're still on the bike. So it's the hardest part is not pushing yourself to like, I did this 3 months ago. I know, mentally that you can do it again, but your body's not quite ready for that. So it is going to take, even after you're back on the bike, it is going to take a little bit to get back to where you were, but I guarantee you'll get back faster than you actually think you will. Like you won't know.
Well, and especially if you do like the physical therapy and stuff, like I have friends, they break, like one specific tore his ACL, right? And that didn't do his physical therapy. And it's like, dude, that's important. Like that muscle's so important. And he got back, he started riding. Okay. So tore his ACL. He was out for a long time, had surgery, ACL and meniscus, tore it, had surgery, eventually heals, comes back, doesn't do his physical therapy. A group of friends from El Paso come down. Okay. And so it's a huge hype sesh. Everyone's like, oh, going crazy. And he didn't want to just sit there and not do anything. So he was pushing himself. He did a bar spin, missed the bars. And to compensate, he didn't want to land on his knee that was messed up. He landed on his other knee, tore his other ACL. Isn't that crazy? Like he was literally back for a few weeks and did that. And so it's like, because that, I think, this is my opinion, because that side of his body was so weak from not being used for however many months an ACL takes, and no physical therapy, no strength. Like one, it's not going to be able to take impact, but two, you're going to put all the weight that you could have spread out between your two knees onto your other knee. And that just kills you. So yeah, be careful, but do what you're supposed to so you can come back stronger.
That was, I think, a hard part for me was mentally, I know I could do something, and even physically, it felt like I could do certain things, but I really tried not to because it wasn't until I went to physical therapy, they're like, do this. And I realized just how much like muscle was gone just from that. Yeah. So like I couldn't stand up on my tiptoe on that one foot. Like I could ride a bike just fine. So I was like, are you sure I can't ride my bike? Like, because I'm riding my cruiser and I know that I could just jump around and it'll be fine. And then, I went to physical therapy and I couldn't even do that, like on my foot. I was like, oh, okay. Like this is kind of a reality check. So do really just exercise it when it comes back and don't overdo it, because your body has to gradually get to that point, but it's not going to take as long as you actually think it will. You will get it back pretty quick, but just don't overdo it.
Yeah, don't get discouraged, Vaughn. It happens to everyone. Judah Flynn says, should I get screw-on pegs, bolt-on, plastic, chromo, etc.? Peg guide, pretty much. I'm having trouble turning out of fakies with a cassette hub. Advice? ? How to conquer the fear of dropping in. Sometimes I start going, this is one question, sideways when I bunny hop. Is this something that will stop with practice, or is this a common thing? Keep up the great work. Heart from Canada. Oh, thank you. So pegs, I hate pegs. I think they're a ripoff. Get the cheapest pegs you can and ride them. They're all they're not all the same, but they're so expensive. $20 for one peg. That's crazy. And so the only pegs I ride are the ones that people give me. And I like pegs, but I will never get myself to spend that much on them. But what do you think about pegs? You guys have all kinds of pegs.
I've rode pegs since I started riding. So to me, but I'm still weird because I only ride 2 pegs still. I know everyone's riding 4.
I can't grind on the opposite side. Don't tell anyone.
Like I can jump on somebody else's bike and do it, but I just don't have the passion to do it. Like I don't care. Like I'll just stick with my 2 pegs on the right hand side, whatever. I ride plastic pegs. I was kind of new. For whatever reason, I didn't want to do plastic pegs plastic pedals, but I switched to plastic pegs pretty early because I kind of saw the advantage when it comes to that. Yeah. Because in my area, there's a lot of aluminum rails. So like the first handrail I ever did was on an aluminum rail. I jumped on it with chromoly pegs and vibrated. Yeah. Like on one of them, actually going back to Louisville, the first rail I ever did was in Louisville. I think that one was just so waxed up though, because so many people hit it that it actually worked out on the street. But I came back to my area because I was all pumped that I learned handrails, and everything around here is aluminum, but it's not wax. Like nobody's touched it for the most part. So yeah, one rail in particular, I vibrated down the rail. I somehow didn't go over the bars, but.
So plastic pegs, not screw-on pegs. Don't get screw-on pegs. Get the ones that bolt on, right? Don't get screw-on pegs. And I agree. I ride plastic sleeves just because they grind a lot better. You can use them in different places. Like it's less noisy. But yeah, I agree. Plastic. Fakies with a cassette hub. You got to watch. You guys have a fakie how-to? I know you're doing a lot of how-to videos.
Do not have a fakie how-to.
You will soon.
Maybe.
Just gonna throw that at you.
Fakie. Maybe.
if you have a lot of money, enroll in bike school. We have over 50 different how-to videos. You get the personalized feedback, you get the coaching from us, and you can learn a lot of tricks. Fakies is in there. And I think you asked about bunny hops. Bunny hops is actually a free one. I'll reply to your comment with the free bunny hop video. You can check that out and see how in depth everything is. If Danscomp ever does a how to fakie, check it out. I've watched a couple. What was the most recent one you did?
Most recent trick how to
was it grinds?
Was toboggan with one of our flow guys. We do have a how to bunny hop. That was actually the last video that I did before I left.
Okay.
So check out both of those. Check out yours. Check out ours.
Yeah,
we got a lot of really good feedback on that video.
The crazy thing with how to's is that I think every video kind of has a different, I don't know, two things. Everyone learns differently. And so you never know which video is going to have a tip that resonates with you. Like, I think when I was learning tail whips, one thing I heard is just someone threw out there is like, turn your wrist down. And it's like, some how-to videos might mention that, some might not. That might help some people, that might not help others. So really check out a lot of different content. Yeah. It's time consuming to bounce around like that too. So you got to watch a lot.
Yeah. When it comes back to the fakies though, I wonder if he can fakie on a free coaster.
Oh, and then he's just having a hard time with the cassette.
Because I always tell people to learn fakies on a cassette and not on a free coaster. Yeah. Because it's easy. Yeah, it's easier to kind of like roll back on a free coaster. But when it comes to the actual like pivot back around, I think you're kind of hindering yourself a little bit.
Yeah.
That's just my opinion. Because if you learn it on a free coaster, then you get on a cassette, you probably have a hard time doing it. But if you get on a cassette and then do it on a free coaster, or learn it on a cassette, then do it on a free coaster, the transition is not as hard. That's just my opinion.
Yeah. But yeah, I think you're right. Cause I ride free coasters sometimes, but I learned on a cassette so learning the fakie that way, it's really easy to just do it on a cassette because it's just a lot simpler. But if you learn it on the free coaster, jumping on a cassette, there's a few extra steps involved.
Yeah. If you have a skate park, I'd say the easiest way is to just roll up a transition and roll back down it and learn it that way. That's way easier. I think I learned it from going down a slight hill on just down a street, and I just would like backpedal with my feet a little bit and then jump on the bike and learn how to.
Okay. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's kind of cool. Yeah.
But that's not really, because I didn't have any ramps nearby. If you have a ramp nearby, just go up the ramp and start going fakie. That's a lot easier.
Yeah, you want to make sure I think your chest is over the bars too. And some people look straight down with it. Some people look out. We talked about this in the bike school video. Is you just got to try those different things and see what works for you. But this question, hey Doug, been struggling to learn BMX tricks. Been trying to manual for a month and still can't. I'm thinking about quitting BMX. Any advice on BMX and manual? I want your opinion, but I'm going to jump real quick and say, dude, if you're going to quit already, like it's probably not for you. And with all due respect, it's a hard sport. Like I think I tried tail whips for 2 to 3 years before I actually got it. Same with bar spins. Like it's hard. And you gotta have more love for it. Is like you gotta love the process of actually learning the tricks and the process of the progression, and not necessarily just want to be really good really fast, because you're gonna hate yourself and you're gonna hate the sport for it. But what do you think?
Manuals is actually the next trick how to that we're working on. So I guess be on the lookout for that. Manuals, man, that was a trick. Any balancing trick is super difficult to learn. That's why flatland in general is just insane. Like those guys are just insane. The amount of skill that takes, because anything that takes balance, especially on a bike that it's not like walking, like your body's not used to anything like trying to balance on anything other than just you walking or running or whatever. You're trying to balance on one wheel on a bike that is completely unnatural from what your body's used to. So it's really difficult, and it is one of those tricks though that you can learn anywhere. And how long did he say he was doing it? 2 months?
Like only 1 month?
So yeah, you're not. It's going to be like probably a year, like no joke, before you got it like that. You know what I mean? It is one of those tricks that I would practice all the time. So going from spot to spot, I would almost like try to manual every single time. So putting something in front of you, so you have a goal of parking spaces.
Parking spaces are perfect.
Yeah. Okay, good. Glad. I feel like that's kind of universally known at the
It's like go for 5 spaces, go for 10, go for, maybe just 1.
Yeah. So you'll get to the point where you can actually balance forward and back, like learn how to use your legs going forward and back. And then you'll start tilting side to side. And then that's a whole other thing, is learning how to actually, you've got this motion down, the up and down motion.
Yeah.
But now you're starting to lean over.
Turn to the left and still keep that motion.
Yeah.
It's a complex trick.
Yeah. It's a hard trick to learn. It's not something you're going to get. But the good thing about it is it's easy to practice. So if you've only been doing it for if you've only been doing it for a month or two, just keep with it, because you are eventually going to get it. One day for me, it literally just clicked. I don't know what it was. Same thing with hang fives. Yeah. Like I struggled, and I would like do a certain amount of parking spaces or whatever. And then one day my body, it just like something just clicked and I had it.
You had the balance.
It was a completely weird scenario for both those tricks, hang fives and manuals. Of one day I couldn't do them, the next day I could do them. I don't know what it was. It's like my body was just kind of like, okay, there's the secret right there.
Huh. Yeah.
But it is going to take a long time.
The last tip for that, just because it brought up a funny story, just because you go super fast, it doesn't, like, you can manual more spaces really fast, but it doesn't count. Make sure it's controlled. And the reason I say that is because I do the same thing as you, like manual from spot to spot. And we were bombing a hill, right? So my dumbass thought it was a good idea to try a manual, and you loop out, right? If you loop out that fast, you'll realize it's not a good idea, because you can't run that fast, and it was terrible. So yeah, controlled, work your way up to it, but don't quit either. I mean, just love the process. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's pretty much all on YouTube. So Caden Ramey says, my question for the Danscomp Q&A is, what are the most popular / common brands purchased on the site? And what's a few of the staff's personal favorites? So what's the most popular? What do you sell the most of? And then what are some of your favorites?
It depends on what it is. So when it comes to like complete, because every brand has their own
top seller.
Like we talked about wheels earlier. Alienation is probably one of the biggest brands on wheels. Cinema as well. But when it comes to like complete bikes, like Stolen probably.
Okay.
Comes off the top of my head, because I feel like Stolen's one of those brands that often gets overlooked. But they do actually make some really nice parts and really nice bikes. And they're really popular. I want to say Kink, Sunday. Yeah, I'd say maybe those are probably some of the top brands, just from what I've seen. I don't look at the sales numbers anymore, so I couldn't tell you, and right now it actually changes every year too, for the most part. There's usually a few top brands when it comes to completes, and then a new model line will come out, like a new year, 2022, whatever, and this will take the top one in the, you know what I mean?
Yeah. I think like Cult Devotion was the best in 2020, but then Kink Whip and Kink Switch were probably the best in 2021. So now 2022 is probably going to have something jump on top. What about what's that?
The Kink Whip has always been a good seller.
Yeah. Now it's $100 more, $50 more.
The Whip?
They jacked their prices. Yeah.
All the prices up because of that.
On everything, huh? That's what I figured.
All because of raw materials and manufacturing and all that.
So what about some of your favorites?
Well, that kind of goes back to what it is, you know. I've got a good relationship with the guys at Verde, so
Okay.
I like a lot of their parts. Stolen too, because I said we have got a lot of that's like I've got good relationships with those guys, so I know, like, I love stolen tires. I had the stolen right now the stolen Hive tires, which is like that honeycomb V looking tire. I really really like that tire. Before that, I always Alienation rims. There's a big one, but I've rode Verde frames for quite a while now, several years now. I really like S&M and fit frames, like the US made frames in particular. I had the opportunity to visit their building and watch them, build the frames. So that was really cool. So I was always been a huge fan of that. When FBM was around, it was kind of the same thing there. I really liked FBM.
Yeah. That'd be a cool YouTube video for you guys visiting S&M and talking about the frames and stuff. Like for you as a YouTube video.
If we ever get back out there, I think that'd be really fun. I do have there's plans in the works to possibly do some manufacturer tours. So I think that'd be really fun. That would be awesome. I want to say, trying to think of what parts shadow. I like a lot of shadow stuff. I just got the new shadow. I guess it's not new to me, but the shadow adjustable fork. I had the.
Oh, dude, I want those. If you ever send anything, that's what I need. That's going to be my next thing. They seem so cool because you can just switch that thing out, right, and go for the steeper offset or the neutral or the less steep, right?
I had the original captive fork many years ago that was like that, but you had to run female axle hubs, which is fine. Most front hubs anymore are female axle for the most part, but you had to. There was something about it, like you had to. You had to run female hubs, then you had to take both bolts completely out
all the way. Yeah, just to change your tube or something. That's annoying.
Yeah, and then those spacers would sometimes get lost. We would sell because people would lose those all the time. So with the new one, they've got they're magnetic, and then you can run. You don't have to take out the bolts completely. You can just loosen them.
They just snap in. Yeah.
So I really like that.
Sounds good.
Because I was actually raising the front end of my bike up with some taller bars and a spacer. So I was kind of experimenting with that. So I was like, I don't know what kind of offset I want, because I needed a new fork to raise up because I had cut the steer tube on it. So on my old one. So that was kind
Shadow, Verde, and God, what was the third one you said?
Alienation wheels.
Alienation. Okay.
Yeah,
but it does just kind of depend on which part you're looking at, because each brand's better at certain things.
And because of like the situation that I'm in, being in the industry and knowing all these guys, I'm not super brand loyal.
Yeah.
So I don't know, just like what I like. So if a particular brand comes out with a part that I'm really into, I don't care what it is. Like, I know we don't sell shit brands, so I'm going to get that part. You know what I mean? Kind of one of the, I feel like a little bit of everything from every brand. So
yeah, it's an awkward question when people are like, yo, what kind of bike is that? And you're like, well, I've got Colony this, I've got Odyssey this, I've got, It's like, I just try and grab the best parts, whether it's I used to go for weight. Now it's not, I don't do that anymore because that's a bad idea. But just kind of the best parts, spec wise, especially too, to kind of gear it towards what I want to get out of it.
I'm a total spec and geometry nerd.
Yeah.
So to me, that's more important than the actual brand.
Definitely. You're like, when you said, I was raising up my bars, I was like, this guy's a spec nerd.
Yeah. Because I used to do
bar height.
I used to do all the specs and whatnot for the website and catalog. So it's like, I was kind of bred to be like that, I guess.
Yeah.
I feel it's kind of annoying because I can feel every little change. Like if something changes, like I know it. You know what I mean? Like I can feel it. A lot of guys, they don't. I got one friend, he's gone from like a 20.5-inch to a 21-inch frame and everything in between. And he rides whatever. And he's like, you just get used to it. Like,
it's kind of true.
But it's also super annoying.
Well, that is all the questions I have. We've been on here for like 2.5 hours, I think, altogether. No, it was really good. So basically we'll try and get you, I'll have to figure out OBS and like stream a live of this. And I think that'd be really fun. We could just answer questions on the spot. And let's see. Do you want to say anything else before you go? You got anything to shout out or plug?
Yeah, I guess if you guys haven't checked out Danscomp since, definitely check us out now because new ownership. And like I mentioned earlier, same core guys, but much better backing. Picked up a lot of new guys along the way who are awesome and super involved in BMX. Check out our YouTube channel because we're definitely with Doug. We're trying to do the same thing as far as like get you guys this what you actually need for your exact purpose. There's no point in spending a ton of money on stuff that you don't need when maybe this product will work better for you, or buying just the completely wrong part in general for what you're doing. So that's, our big thing is educating the consumer, educating the customer. And yeah, so just check us out, follow us on Instagram, Facebook, all those other whatever social places.
Yeah. Sounds good. All right, cool. So yeah, guys, stay on the lookout for when I go live with Mike. And if most of the links, if we talked about anything specific, I'll probably throw a link in the description. But from now on, like if Dan's has it in stock, I'm going to have a link for it to go buy it from them, because we've talked a lot. Like we were on the phone for 2 hours, right? A few months ago, just kind of talking about a bunch of different things that came up and where Dan's is at in the process of gaining back everyone's trust. Like I talked about with you, the wheel thing, their customer service is one of their top priorities, and just taking care of people and then getting people into the sport with integrity, which is something I think a lot of shops like miss out on. So it's cool that we have the same mission, and I'm more than happy to tell you guys to buy parts from them. And yeah, hit us up on Instagram. Stay on the lookout for their the content they're making. Like I said, a lot of how-to videos and stuff that's almost competing with what I'm trying to do, but it's cool because I'm just a person and they're a whole ass brand, and it's good.
Yeah, it's everything. Everybody has their own view on certain things too, so it is good to get a very broad.
Yeah,
and you, based on all those opinions, you kind of gather your own opinions on stuff.
Exactly.
So yeah, check out everything.
Cool. All right, guys. Well, have a good rest of your day. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.
See ya.